Welcome to Storytime with Pastor Steve. Today's story is The Little Boat That Almost Sank. It's based on Matthew chapter 14 and Mark chapter 6. It's written by Mary Warren, and it is illustrated by Kaveta Raida. I am tired, said Jesus to his friends. I will send the crowds away, and then I must go into the hills alone to talk to God. You men row across the lake into your boat, and I will meet you after a while. The sun had set like an enormous red balloon floating down the edge of the sky. And now the birds tucked their heads under their wings to sleep, and the flowers folded themselves quietly for night, and the stars prickled in their sparkly way into the great black blanket of night. Peter raised his hands in prayer. I will shove the boat off, said James to his friends as they took up the oars. The only sound was the soft sound of wind whooshing the waves and the soft slap of oars dipping in water. The wind was getting worse, said John, after they had rowed a bit. We want to make our boat go one way, but the wind is starting to push it the other. By then the sound of the wind had become like a roar of an angry lion. The little waves turned to big waves, and the big waves thumped and bumped and rocked the boat and splashed water into it. I'm scared, shouted Andrew, above the noise of the wind and the boom of the waves. I'm a fisherman, and I've been in rough waters many times, but this is terrible. I'm scared. Oh, that looks like a nasty storm. I am too, shouted Peter. If Jesus was here, I would not feel so scared. I wish he had come with us, called another man, wet and trembling and afraid. When Jesus looked out from the top of the hill, he could see the boat rocking in the moonlight and all the men pulling hard at the oars. That is a strong wind, he said to himself. It is the middle of the night and they're getting nowhere. They must be wet and cold and frightened. Down the hill went Jesus, down the hill and over the rocks, down on the dark until he got to the shore. The wind hissed in the waters, the waves roared, and the boat rocked, and the men trembled, afraid. Then they saw Jesus walking toward them on the water. They were stiff with fear. A ghost, they screamed. The storm is bad enough, but now a ghost? But over the hiss of the wind and the boom of the waves and the cries of the men, a voice they knew. It is I. Don't be afraid. Oh, Jesus, Jesus, called Peter. If it is really you, please tell me to come to you on the water. In the darkness, above the roar of the wind, Jesus said quietly, Come, Peter, come. Peter climbed over the side of the boat, and looking ahead at Jesus, he felt brave. He took some steps out on the water, but suddenly the waves thundered in his ear, and instead of looking at Jesus, he looked down. I can't do it, he thought to himself, and he began to sink. Lord, help me, he cried. Jesus quickly stretched his arm and caught him. Peter, Peter, You thought you could not do it. Why don't you have more faith in me?" Together they climbed into the boat. The wind stopped roaring, the waves stopped pounding, the boat stopped rocking, and there came again the gentle whoosh of the waves and the soft slap of the oars dipping in the water. Jesus whispered, "Peter and Andrew and all of the men, you can make a storm go away. You can make the winds hush. When you are with us, we are not afraid." I think this story is really fitting right now. There's a whole lot of things going on in our world that are making us afraid. If it's the social things going on around the country, if it's the COVID-19 virus, if it's watching the news and seeing people yelling at each other and fires, there's a lot of things going on that makes me and a lot of people nervous and scared. And if we are like Peter, who stepped out on the boat thinking we can do it ourselves, we have no hope. We have to remember, like Peter remembered and cried out, "Jesus, save me." We need to be reminded that we too need to be saved by Jesus, that we need him to move in our communities, in our homes, in our churches, in our families, to help us to love each other and to take care of each other. We need him to step into our lives and bring us hope and healing and forgiveness so that we could live each day new and so that we could share not in fear but in courage and strength and be able to step out of the boat knowing that Jesus is the one who is guiding us. May he give us courage to do his will. I hope to see you soon.